An ostracon is a piece of pottery, usually broken off from a vase or other earthenware vessel. In archaeology, ostraca may contain scratched-in words or other forms of writing which may give clues as to the time when the piece was in use. In Athens, the voting public would write or scratch the name of a person in the shard of pottery. When the decision at hand was to banish or exile a certain member of society, citizen peers would cast their vote by writing the name of the person on the piece of pottery. The vote was counted, and if unfavorable, the person was exiled for a period of 10 years from the city, thus giving rise to the term ostracism. Egyptian limestone and potsherd ostraca. Anything with a smooth surface could be used as a writing surface. Generally discarded material, ostraca were cheap, readily available, and therefore frequently used for writings of an ephemeral nature such as messages, prescriptions, receipts, students' exercises and notes. Pottery shards, limestone flakes, thin fragments of other stone types, etc., but limestone shards, being flaky and of a lighter color, were most common. Ostraca were typically small, covered with just a few words or a small picture drawn in ink, but the tomb of the craftsman Sennacherib at Deir el-Medina contained an enormous ostracon inscribed with the story of Sinai. The importance of ostraca for Egyptology is immense. The combination of their physical nature and the Egyptian climate have preserved texts, from the medical to the mundane, which in other cultures were lost. These can often serve as better witnesses of everyday life than literary treatises preserved in libraries. Deir el-Medina medical ostraca. The many ostraca found at Deir el-Medina provide a deeply compelling view into the medical workings of the New Kingdom. These ostraca have shown that, like other Egyptian communities, the workmen and inhabitants of Deir el-Medina received care through a combination of medical treatment, prayer, and magic. Nevertheless, the records at Deir el-Medina indicate some level of division, as records from the village note both a physician, who saw patients and prescribed treatments, and a scorpion charmer, who specialized in magical cures for scorpion stings. The ostraca from Deir el-Medina also differed in their circulation. Magical spells and remedies were widely distributed among the workmen. There are even several cases of spells being sent from one worker to another, with no trained intermediary. Written medical texts appear to have been much rarer, however, with only a handful of ostraca containing prescriptions, indicating that the trained physician mixed the more complicated remedies himself. There are also several documents that show the writer sending for medical ingredients, but it is unknown whether these were sent according to a physician's prescription, or to fulfill her home remedy. Saqqara dream ostraca from 1964 to 1971. Brian Emery excavated at Saqqara in search of Imhotep's tomb. Instead, the extensive catacombs of animal mummies were uncovered. Apparently it was a pilgrim site, with as many as 1.5 million ibis birds interred. This 2nd century BC site contained extensive pottery debris from the site offerings of the pilgrims. Emery's excavations uncovered the dream ostraca, created by a scribe named Hor of Sebennytos, a devotee of the god Thoth. He lived adjacent to Thoth's sanctuary at the entrance to the North Catacomb and worked as a prototherapist, advising and comforting clients. He transferred his divinely inspired dreams onto ostraca. The dream ostraca are 65 demotic texts, written on pottery in limestone. Biblical period ostraca. Famous ostraca for biblical archaeology have been found at Arad, Israel, or Tel Arad, Lachish, Mesad HaShavyahu, Ostracon house at Samaria, Ela fortress at Kirbut Kaiafa. Additionally, the lots drawn at Mesad are believed to have been ostracon, and some potsherds resembling the lots have been found. In October 2008, Israeli archaeologist Joseph Garfinkel of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has discovered what he says to be the earliest known Hebrew text. This text was written on an Ostracon shard. Garfinkel believes this shard dates to the time of King David from the Old Testament, about 3,000 years ago. Carbon dating of the Ostracon and analysis of the pottery have dated the inscription to be about 1,000 years older than the Dead Sea Scrolls. The inscription has yet to be deciphered, however. Some words, such as king, slave and judge, have been translated. The shard was found about 20 miles southwest of Jerusalem at the Ela fortress in Kirbut Caiaphah, the earliest known fortified city of the biblical period of Israel. New Testament Ostracon. Some Christian texts are preserved upon Ostracon. In the late 19th century, 20 Ostracon were found in Upper Egypt, probably from the 7th century, written in Greek and Coptic. The Ostracon are of different sizes and shapes. The more extant is Luke chapter 22 verses 40 to 71, which runs over 10 pieces. The Ostracon contain from 2 to 9 verses each, and cover Matthew chapter 27 verses 31 to 32, Mark chapter 5 verses 40 to 41, Mark chapter 9 verses 17 to 18, Mark chapter 9 verse 22, Mark chapter 15 verse 21, Luke chapter 12 verses 13 to 16, Luke chapter 22 verses 40 to 71, John chapter 1 verses 1 to 9, John chapter 1 verses 14 to 17, John chapter 18 verses 19 to 25, John chapter 19 verses 15 to 17. There is one Ostracon with the inscription, Saint Peter the Evangelist, perhaps an allusion to the Gospel of Peter. A Coptic Syriac Ostracon preserves the pericope adulterae found in John chapter 7 verse 53-8-1, which is otherwise omitted in the Syriac New Testament. A Christian hymn to Mary, similar to the Canticles of Luke, and some Christian letters have also been found. Christian Ostracon. Inscriptions on clay, wood, metal, and other hard materials, like papyri, are valuable especially as the literary sources for early Christianity. They are found chiefly in Oriental countries, especially Egypt. The greatest number are pieces of clay or scraps of pots inscribed with colors or ink. The oldest Christian Ostracon, like the papyri, are Greek and date from the 5th century. Next come the Coptic and Arabian Ostracon. Some of the texts not yet deciphered include several Nubian Ostracon in a language spoken in the old Christian kingdoms in the vicinity of Vallo on the Blue Nile. In these inscriptions Greek letters are used, with some other signs. As to contents, Ostracon are either profane or ecclesiastical. Potsherds were often used for correspondence in place of the less durable papyrus. Occasionally the recipient wrote the answer on the back of the potsherd. Ostracon were also used for mercantile purposes, as bills, receipts, etc. C.M. Kaufman and J.C. A. Walled Falls, while excavating the town of Menas in the Libyan desert, discovered Ostracon of this class, the oldest Christian potsherds in the Greek language, and H. J. Bell and F. G. Kenyon of the British Museum deciphered them. They refer to the vine culture of the sanctuaries of Menas and represent, for the most part, short vouchers for money or provisions. The currency is based upon gold solido issued by Constantine. The date is reckoned by the year of indiction. Of historical interest is the assistance given to invalid workmen, the employment of the lower clergy, the manner of provisioning the workmen, and especially the statements about the harvest periods in the Libyan district. The series of Coptic Ostracon which deals with the clergy and the monasteries in the Nile Valley is particularly extensive. They refer to all phases of administration and popular life. The Ecclesiastical Ostracon, in a narrow sense, contain biblical citations from the New Testament, prayers, extracts from the Synaxaria, and are partly of a liturgic character. Greek, which was then the language of the Church, is much used, with the Coptic. Among the samples published by W.E. Crum, a fine judge of Coptic dialects, there is a local confession of faith from the 6th century, besides the preface and sanctus of the Mass. Prayers from the Liturgy of St. Basil and of St. Mark, a part of the Didascalia of Shnuta of Athribus, a Greek confession, and an excommunication, also in Greek. Particularly remarkable are those Ostraca which contain liturgical songs. They represent our present songbooks, for which purpose rolls of papyrus were less suited than the more durable potsherds. In some cases wooden books were used. Among the pieces translated by Crum we find petitions for ordination, in which the petitioner promises to learn by heart one of the Gospels, and a reference to an ancient abstinence movement, against which is directed a decree that the consecration wine should be pure, or at least 3/4 pure.